only you rent it. Word. Whoa, step in the spotty and watch how they panic. Yeah, we the duo, you know we dynamic. When we outside, we be stopping the traffic.
What's up, y'all? Man, on my way to do an interview with my friend Alvena. She's bouncing out of Washington State. She's gonna be going to Florida, but she's somebody I met about a year ago, right before this COVID started. She is what is she? She's a model. She does. She's a licensed family practitioner or family therapist. But yeah, she also has her own line of beauty products too. So I'm going out to where she lives to conduct this interview. Typically I do it in the studio, but she shipped her car out to Florida or something like that. So I'm driving out there instead. And yeah, it's interesting. You never know who you're gonna meet and the time frame that you're gonna meet folks. She has a lot of good information around family therapy and just how to stay balanced. And so we're going to talk to her about just how to deal with chaos in general. But overall, just kind of get a glimpse of who she is, what she's about. What's up, everybody? This is Edward Newbins, and we're with Motivated Life, and I'm here with Alvena Willis, and we are going to be talking today about, man, we're going through coronavirus. We're going through a lot of different turmoil. We got a lot of chaos going on. So she's an expert on how to deal with chaos, and she's a mother. She's a model at times. She does interviews. And what else do you do? You're also a family practitioner, or we call it family therapist.
I'm a licensed marriage family therapist.
Licensed marriage family therapist.
Oh yeah, here's the microphone. Been a while.
But anyways, yeah, we're here. She's actually on her way out of here, so I wanted to catch up with her before she left to Florida. And so she's making that transition. So that's another part of just, it's kind of a little chaos too, trying to manage that whole process of moving and regrouping to a new area. But anyways, tell us about yourself a little bit.
Well, I mean, my name is Alvena. I grew up here in the Tacoma area, mostly went to school, Lacey, Seattle areas. And I've been in Washington for 30 years. So it is a big transition for me to be moving all the way across the country to Florida.
Yeah.
And, it's a whole new culture, whole new everything. But I'll continue to keep my practice for telehealth and maintain all of my clients here for the time being. Okay. So that has really been helpful for my transition. At some point, I wasn't sure how that was going to go because I'm a licensed therapist here in Washington. And there's some states where you have to end up backtracking yourself 3 years.
Oh, to get the licenses and all
right.
that? Okay.
Yeah, you have to go back to school, do some more practical hours, mostly California.
Yeah.
But Florida was not as difficult of a transition. I did go ahead and get licensed there as well so that when I am ready to start taking clients or get with a group practice down there, or whatever the case might be, I'll be able to say yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how did you get into your profession? Actually, why did you get into your profession? What led that? What spawned that?
Well, okay. Well, for the purpose of this interview, let me give you the not so silly version. I really was interested in human behavior and how the mind works, how people become who they are, or how to change, get better, improve, and different interventions was always interesting to me. I had nightmares as a kid. Don't know why.
Okay.
But there was a few recurring ones, and I did talk to my mother about it. And there was one time she had me to draw a picture of what happened in a dream and write out the story. I might have only been 5 or 4, I don't know. And then after I wrote the story, saw it on paper, drew the picture, then I was able to rip it up and throw it away, and it no longer had any power over me anymore.
Oh, okay.
So it was interesting how something like that seems so simple could work. But I was glad I wasn't having that dream anymore. That's what I knew. So That's just one example.
I have spider dreams, so I should do that. Yeah.
I don't know. Arachnophobia is something else.
Yeah. No, I related mine to something else. I think it's like when I'm not on my path and I'm kind of entangling myself in a web. Every single time I have that spider dream and I actually don't pay attention to it, something happens later on. Like I should have paid attention to what I'm doing and changed my habits or something like that. So, yeah.
So it's usually a bit more like foresight, just pay attention, get something for you to just look more deeply at a situation and be conscious and aware and be prepared. I'm
getting free advice now. That's my slick way of getting it.
Get out of those entanglements.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So you got into it as a young person. You recognized opportunities to make change in your life and what thought processes have power. And so we're in COVID right now. I know that you've been seeing a lot because we've talked already about various things. It's like an uptick of people just having to deal with a lot more stuff in their life. How do you go about helping families or individuals deal with, especially now, all the things that are happening?
Well, I mean, life in general is already hard to begin with, but then you throw COVID on top of that, and, usually you're able to keep going. A lot of people are able to keep going with work and school and not have that time to think about the seriousness of the problems they have in their relationships, or, they're able to escape it. But now folks are a lot more stuck inside with those thoughts and not being able to escape them, and then realizing, oh, there's some real issues here. I would say a lot of folks really need to take the time out to not avoid that or try to escape it, because you turn to alcohol, you turn to drugs, you turn to something that's self-medicating or self-deprecating or sabotaging. So we have to catch, okay, when I'm feeling this way, what else can I do that's positive? How can I use this energy to do something that's positive and that's going to grow me, that's creative, make me feel better, actually improve my relationships rather than destroy them. So we're just kind of interrupting that pattern because a lot of us naturally go and do something that's not going to be helpful. Man, I know I do. I go straight to cupcakes and sugar. That's my. I started learning about dopamine. The whole effects of dopamine. A couple people I follow on YouTube, and I was like, actually I do have certain triggers, and and like mine is sugar, and then I do a lot of DIY projects. Okay. It's like a little habit, and it makes it actually. It seems like it's cool, but actually it limits me too because I'm doing too many things. So it's almost like my mind has to do so many different things, and maybe that's because I'm not coping with other stuff. I started realizing that. So it's like if I par things down, I can actually focus on what I should be really paying attention to versus just starting something new and constantly moving on to something else. Right. So. Yeah, that's definitely another way. And then it just like you end up having too much to do and not getting as many things done as you could have gotten done if you focused on just a few things. Right. Goal setting's a big one as well. Some folks are just felt like they're lost and they don't know where to go next, or set some new goals, even if it's I want to jog around the block once a day. Then you maybe want to jog around the block twice, whatever it might be. Okay. So what are some like practical things that if I started my day out and I'm trying to and I have these bad cycles, whatever your addictions or habits are, how do people break that? Just from a lot of us we don't even know we have these habits. And how do we get into like a healthy mode of just starting our day? Well, I think it's becoming consciously aware of what they are, having those conversations with a therapist or someone that you trust who's doing well or better. And them being able to ask you, okay, so what happens before this, or what happens before that, or how do you feel when you do this? Just having that space that's for you to talk through what it is that you've been noticing that's not going too well for you, so that you can get to a place where you're able to say, oh, okay, this is a spot within this pattern that I can change something. Okay. And do something different. And it takes practice. It takes rehearsing it. You're not going to do well every single time just because you have that conversation.
Right.
It's the practice afterwards. Like, say you pick at your skin. Once you notice you're picking at your skin, okay, my plan that I created in that conversation with my therapist was I'm going to get up and go get a really tall, cold glass of water and drink it all the way down, and, you know, maybe do something else with my hands. Instead of picking, I'm going to paint my nails. And that, you know, just leads you to feeling better about yourself. At least now you painted your nails. You're going to feel better and be more prone to go to those habits the more that you practice those. I also think that meditation is important. A lot of people don't think that it works or that it helps or that they're doing it right, but there's guided meditation, there's body scanning types of meditations. I think if you try different ones, you might find something that resonates well with you. And of course, it's one of those things, practice makes perfect. You got to just keep doing something until you create that new habit, because you've been eating cupcakes for 20 years. You can't expect to break
35,
that habit.
35, at least. No.
Real quick.
40 something. Yeah. I've been,
right.
I actually realized my addiction with sugar, or actually cupcakes and bakery goods, goes to my grandmother.
Okay.
My grandma used to cook all the time. And
so it's even generational.
Yeah, it's generational, but it's a mental thing. I started realizing it's like I get a certain feeling out of eating cupcakes or cakes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's my grandmother. It's my connection with her. She always has some type of bakery goods. And so I actually know that.
Childhood comfort.
Yeah, so I was like, okay. And it triggers when I'm going through certain things. I mean, I like them anyway, but it definitely triggers when I get stressed.
Right.
I go straight to the sugar, and it's typically gonna be cupcakes or something like that.
And it feels so good to eat that cupcake.
It does. Now I feel a little guilty afterwards. Well, not too guilty, because I have 2 of them. Every time I eat cupcakes, I do 2, about a pair. But all right. So we got healthy habits. You got to break the cycle of your. Well, I mean, you have to identify the habits too. I mean, I think a lot of times,
and that accountability of following up with the therapist or whoever it is that you're checking in with, like a trainer, like a personal trainer.
Yeah. So therapy is difficult in the Black community, though. We don't even talk about it. I mean, I've actually gone through therapists maybe a couple times, and I went through a program called what is it called? Well, I went through Strive. It's actually based in New York, and that was like, it's more of a soft skills type of thing, but you have to realize who you are to understand how you're projecting yourself.
Right.
But then I also went through what is it called? I can't remember. What is it called? It's out here in Seattle. Oh, it's like a national. Wow, what is it called? I'll have to think about it later.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, how do people even? First, you got to recognize you have some issues to deal with, and then be
willing to go get that help.
Yeah, but
there's a stigma.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a stigma with mental health. Like, as soon as you have to reach out for medication or mental health, then now you're crazy, and maybe you can't do anything in your life. Maybe you can't do your job. You can't raise your kids. No, that's not how it always is. Like, you have to realize that there's, anxiety and depression are pretty widespread. It's kind of a big deal. And adjustment disorders, like, it could just be like a time where change is really stressful for you, and you need a little bit of help through that time.
I think it's the word disorder. So I went to the doctor because I've been having back and neck issues, and we're going through COVID, and we're all dealing with stuff, how we deal with things. And so when I went to the doctor, they started asking me certain questions, like, how are you doing mentally? And I was like, I'm good. And they started asking other things, and I'm like, no, I don't have no issues. I'm tired. I'm dealing with my neck and back stuff. I got, stuff at work or whatever. But I'm really keen on making sure that in my file ain't nothing crazy in there, because my understanding is, like, it could be used against you maybe. I don't know. It just feels like it could be. And I got a new doctor, actually. She's a African doctor. And I talked about it. I said, yeah, by the way, and she was looking through my charts for the first time. And she was just asking me, oh, how are you feeling, anxiety? I said, is that in my chart? Because I said, no, I'm not feeling like that. We're just all going through stuff. And she said, well, I'm going to take that out. I said, thank you. Because in my mind, it's still the stigma. I'm like, I don't need no stuff on there that makes me feel like, or makes it seem like to other people, he might be like
something wrong with it.
Yeah, something wrong with
Ed.
Yeah. Like, I don't need all that.
What's wrong with Ed?
I mean, there is, but I don't need it in my charts. So, I mean, you're in that profession, but in our Black community, it's still a thing. I don't hear people really talking about therapy that much. I mean, there's a few of my guys, we talk about it more, but I don't really hear it too much. Most people are like, I'm good. I don't really know what help. And it's very rare that I hear people really bring it up.
I mean, I just make myself available as a therapist. I think having someone look like you on the other side of the desk or the table or, you know, the futon, whatever it is, the screen right now, the virtual visit is really helpful. Whether, you know, because if the client's Black or brown, a lot of times there's a historical trauma that's added on top of that. It's another layer of, oh, they're just going to experiment on me,
right.
Or it's going to be a way to get me more ostracized out of society. You know, and these things happen. It's still happening. It still happens. So I can be more trusted than like a white therapist. Even some of my white clients want to have a Black therapist. They're like, I don't trust the white therapist. Like, what?
Wow.
Okay. So I think just because there's like 4%, I think Black therapists.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's really a low amount.
That's like teachers. I heard like, well, maybe in
this field.
Yeah, I think that's like Black males and teachers or something like that. I think there's only like 2% in the whole country. Yeah. So it's like you're not represented at all. So yeah, I understand. I have a Black doctor now. It's like I think it's I had a Black dentist, and this is my first Black doctor. She's a female too, which kind of for me, it's like I don't know, but it made me feel more comfortable because I think she has my best interest at heart because of her background and just looking like me. You know, she understands what we go through. So I think even with therapy, it's like I might only know personally maybe 3 or 4 people in that whole field.
Yeah.
Even in the wellness field, I only know maybe 3 or 4 people.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't think I've seen. I took my son to the urgent care last week, and I don't know if he was a nurse practitioner or a doctor, but he looked more like you. I was like, what?
Right.
And he was like, because he had like his ear was hurting. He was like, do he listen or do you know? Or he probably don't ever listen.
Oh yeah.
So then you get to play with each other a little bit more too in that way. So yeah, and then my son gets to look up to him and say, well, I could be a doctor one day or a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, and I think that's key too. It's just like going back to how you started. Did you know people that were in that profession before you got into it, or was it just something that, you know, because of your mom nurturing it or just being through whatever process you figured it out? Or
well, both of my parents, my mother and my father, were both very much into education. You know, you get your education, you get your education, you get your education. Like this was like a big deal in my household. And we were exposed to as many things as you could possibly, get your brain on. And I didn't meet a Black psychologist, female psychologist, until I remember me and my mother were going to a hairdresser out in Lakewood, and one of her clients was a Black therapist.
Okay.
And I remember looking at her like, wow, maybe I was 10 or 11.
Wow. Okay.
Something like that.
So could have planted the seed maybe?
Well, I already had the seed there, but actually seeing someone having achieved what it is I want to achieve who looks like me.
Right.
And then asking her questions about how it was that she made it. Like, what did she do to accomplish those goals? And then,
are you asking those questions at that age?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. See, that's different, too, because most, it's just not something that, I don't even know if kids are aware to even ask those questions. It's like you see it, but you don't understand what that might mean, or, you just don't know.
No, I had to know. And okay. I think from like a very young age, I want to say 4 or 5 or 6, I knew I wanted to be a psychologist. It was like the first big word that I learned how to spell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Before encyclopedia.
I've never heard no kids say that too. Like, oh, I want to be a psychologist when I grow up. I don't even think I even thought that would be. I didn't even know what that was. I mean.
Yeah, I wanted psychology books. Like, wow. I was excited to read them.
Okay.
And even in high school, I was like, ooh, this is what schizophrenia looks like. Wow. I was just a nerd that way, I guess. It was my favorite subject and continues to be my favorite subject. And growing up in the church as well, I got to do a lot of youth mentoring and different programs and be on the other side and just, mean, then I went to therapy myself when I was pregnant with my son, because that was a adjustment disorder situation. Yeah. And so I even got to be on the other side as a client, and really felt like it was helpful with that therapist. So I got to experience that, and I was referred by my pastor, who I trusted, who's a good pastoral counselor anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's interesting too, just the pastor part, because I know I grew up in church too, in different churches actually, and typically, I mean, maybe it's just part of the stigma in our community. It's like God can handle it all,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Just
God
pray about it.
You know, get some oil on your forehead and you'll be good. I mean, my pastor did more than that, but it's just like you didn't hear people refer people outside of their church, like, you know, maybe you should go seek this or that. You know, that's something that is very rare. I've heard a couple of friends recently mention that. But growing up, that was not something. It's like, if God ain't got it, then, you know, go to the church and that's it. But not everybody trusts the church, or the church doesn't have they don't necessarily have the infrastructure to support everybody in the community the way they need to. So to even hear the fact that you know, your pastor is referring people to other folks, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, he was a very, very, very intelligent spiritual leader, spiritual father. So I think it was definitely good to be in that type of environment with those types of mentors as well. And the counselor he referred me to was also a pastor, so it was like, you know, I know him. Yeah. I trust him. He's good. Yeah. And my pastor, he had also chose to be a pastor over engineering, so he had all those degrees as well. Okay. But I mean, it's really, I think the more we plant those seeds, and that we keep making it something that's normalized, the more people will be acceptable. I mean, they'll be accepting of the idea. Right. And I don't know. I think it's all relative. Like your mental health, I think, is relative to also, like, part of that is what do you see as your higher power? What is it that you connect to that's greater and bigger than you as well? That's part of it. Right. That's something we talk about in therapy, and people are like, "Oh, isn't this counseling?" Like, yeah, sound like church. Yeah, but I'm not saying you need to go like believe in the same God I believe in, but having a sense of there's something greater and more powerful outside of you can quickly snap you out of whatever it is that you're stuck on in your head. Like if you go out into nature and see the beauty of nature, like that's a very peaceful, grounding type of situation as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole idea of grounding, I didn't understand that, but I grew up going to camps and, you know, being around water, especially being in Seattle, you're around it all the time. But I don't even.
Weren't you out in Yakima or something?
No. Spokane's not Yakima. But I think Yakima's better than Spokane. It's just, I don't know, it's closer to Seattle. But Spokane, my mom sent me to camps. And so as a kid, I remember when I started swimming when I was like 2 or 3. So being in the water made me connected automatically. And then going out to those camps, like I remember going to beehives and collecting honey and going like, canoeing and all kind of stuff. So it's like you're in the elements. And I understand, even being in Seattle, even though we're close to all these things, a lot of people don't even take advantage of going to those things. Right. So we're all getting nervous and depressed because of the you know, with the atmosphere out here. It's gray all the time.
Gray and buildings and concrete.
Exactly. But we got this nature all around us, and a lot of us forget we're not grounded. We get kind of in this funk. Yeah. You know, and I get into the same thing where I'm stuck in the house. It's dark at 4 or 4:30 now. Right. I don't feel like going nowhere. It's cold, so
move to Florida.
Yeah, I know. So we got that part. So as far as what else? I mean, so you do all this other fun stuff too, though. Yeah. You know, so this is like the heavy stuff. But what do you do for, like, you know, you're into modeling, you're into a lot of other things. Like, how does the balance that you have with doing all these different endeavors?
Well, so let me see. How do I make that happen? I think I have a few different people or organizations that I'm involved with. So I've done a lot of interviewing with people who are doing things like Motivated Life, like people who are doing positive things within the community. Right. Also like pageants, the pageant queens, also music and entertainment industry folks as well. And that's been a lot of fun, just meeting people like that I grew up listening to, H-Town, Silk. I think I met SWV. What's her name? Adina Howard. I even met R. Kelly. Like, it's a lot. It's been so much fun, and I will continue that cool. because it's also part of who I am. It's another goal that I had as a child. I always wanted to be a model / actress and a therapist.
Okay.
Like, you know, so, and it does kind of meld in together because we're still talking about, like, how did you reach your goals of becoming the successful musician? Like, what are the things that you value and love? You know, just, you know, different questions that make people be driven to do the things that they're doing. And how do they create that longevity? You know, I'm not trying to go out and be a singer, but I think those different types of...
I heard you singing earlier, though. I was like, okay. All right.
Yeah, I can pretend. I grew up in the church. I did go in the choir, like, you know. But, yeah, so I don't know. I think it also plays into the mentorship part as well. So it all kind of is connected, like seeing other people achieve their goals and their dreams and really be who it is that they want to be. Mm-hmm. Although you might be looking at like, wow, you know, this is Teddy Riley. He worth billions of dollars. I'm like, how did he do that? Yeah. But, and he's just a red-blooded human being like the rest of us. Right. You know, he got feelings, emotions, and life problems too. So, you know, it's just a matter of really getting into that energy so that you can live that purpose-driven life, so to speak, and having the tools to do it and knowing that you can do it. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Now you have a son too. Like, how do you keep that all balanced? And, you know, your mom. I don't. He's a hot mess, and so am I. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one thing that stands out to me is some of the things that I've learned from reading books and knowing that if a parent is achieving the things that they want to achieve in their life and going to college or whatever it is, you know, maybe they're being a model / actress and a therapist, then the kid's like, okay, you know, mom's living her life and she's doing well. This is a good example for me. This makes for a healthier environment for me because she's loving her life and living her life. And that automatically, you know, sets up a better situation than if she's not. If she's just like going without and being completely destitute, not living her dream, she pissed off, she angry, she mad. It's your fault. I can't go live my dreams. Yeah. Then that's not gonna be good. Yeah. That's not good for anybody. That's bad energy. Yeah, it's a Tyler Perry movie. Right. It could be. It's a normal situation. It happens all the time. You look like your daddy. Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about me? No, I don't know what your daddy looked like. I did. Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay. Did your mama say that to you? She did, actually. I got some issues. So, all right, so we got the model part. We got the family therapy part. You're tall. You're athletic. Like, did you play sports growing up? I played in elementary and middle school. When I got to high school, I wasn't as good as the other players that who went to summer camp. Okay. So I spent too much time on C team and on the bench. So I was like, I'm out. Okay. Yeah. But then I still continued to like do running, non-competitive, athletic types of things. And I love to dance. I've gone to personal training a few times, did some kickboxing lessons and some self-defense. You know, I could put you in submission. Yeah, no thanks. Okay. I got a bad back right now. I don't remember how. It was a while ago. But yeah, I do like to stay active and fit, and I have my own goals and standards around that as well for myself. And just being physically healthy, I think it's a space in which I feel I have some control over that. Right. And my health is my wealth. I really believe that as well. Because I could have, you know, several stacks of millions in the bank, but if my heart is hurting and I can't move, I can't even enjoy that.
Yeah, that's something I think about a lot too. I always go back to Steve Jobs. I mean, he's worth billions, and I understand. He had I think it was pancreatic cancer, I believe, or something like that.
Right, and that's something I'm sure he didn't choose that.
Yeah, he didn't choose it, but I remember reading some things about, and I think he mentioned it too, because he was in this. He had some type of weird diet situation where his people around him were trying to advise him not to do that, and not saying that contributed to it, but they made comments about different interviews. That he didn't do his best for his own health necessarily, kind of followed his own beat. Not saying that contributed to it, but we never know.
Right.
And the fact is, I mean, billions, it doesn't matter. Couldn't all the money in the world can't stop certain
but
things
I'll take the billions too, though. Like I'm not saying like it's bad to be rich at all.
No. But having all that, just having that only, I'd rather take my health.
I would for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So now we've talked about a lot. We've talked about family. We talked about we talked about our son and growing up and how you grew up. Your profession, your modeling, the fun things you do, but you also have your own business outside of your family practice. Can you tell us about that?
Actually, I have 2 businesses, but the one you're talking about is the Body by Alvena.
Okay.
It's a hair and skin product. Me and my brother came up with it a couple of years ago. And
is this your hair?
This is my hair. This is all my hair.
I just had to check. I didn't want to touch it, though.
Yeah. I mean, people that I care about can touch my hair.
Okay.
It's allowed. But yeah, I've been growing this hair for, I don't know, over 10 years.
Wow.
And taking care of it I feel like that's also connected to me and my mental health as well. If I feel like my hair is starting to get dry or brittle or break off, that means I'm not paying attention to myself. I'm not taking care of my temple. I'm not I need to drink water. I need to be clean. I need to be healthy, and my hair has to be healthy as well. Because if it's growing out of my scalp, maybe my scalp's not healthy. Maybe, everything going on inside of me needs to be healthy.
Dang, I'm thinking about myself. I'm all bald and stuff.
Yeah, you messing up somewhere.
It took too long. It's too late for me. All right.
Well, I mean, like maybe your beard. You gotta
it gets healthy.
keep that good.
Yeah. Blue magic. All right, so that's kind of cool because you do like your own skincare, your health. I mean, you are your own walking advertisement thing. Because I mean, somebody's looking to hair and they see the face. They're like, oh, okay, well. You ain't got to sell me on nothing because obviously you're doing something right. So
well, I mean, but then I also have to think about the reality of the situation as well. There's things that are out of my control, but I do want to do everything that I can to maintain the things that I do have. I want to take care of, be a good steward of the things that I do have so that when I get more or if I want to attract more and better, I have to also show up well to begin with for myself before I could be there for anybody else. So.
Ooh, you just kind of touched on something I didn't even think about. So this is like a side topic, but I think it's relevant because I've had conversation with enough of my female friends talking about law of attraction and putting your best foot forward. And we talk about growing up in Seattle versus other places, how maybe we don't necessarily project ourselves the best we could and we don't treat each other. What do you think? I mean, you kind of talked about it. I mean, you mentioned putting your best foot forward and, expecting what you want in return, but you got to be putting your foot forward first.
Like, can't be looking like like this and then you want that.
So I know it's kind of a side topic, but I mean, as far as when it goes to not so much dating, but just personal relationships, even like how you present yourself in business. Can you talk about just like what you were saying as far as just how you present yourself? Maybe, I guess it was perception, how other people receive you. I guess, maybe it's like the mental component of that also.
Well, I think part of that is something that folks can grow in when they're willing to have humility and be held accountable as well. Because, like, if I call you out, like, Ed, I didn't really, that wasn't cool. And you'd be like, nah, you tripping. Yeah. And then you just step out and continue to be that way. Maybe you push away people, something, whatever the case might be. But you have to also be humble and willing to hear that from your brother or your sister, whoever it is that you trust. Right. They might actually have your best interests at heart and be trying to help you and keep you from making the same mistake over and over again. So being humble and being willing to take accountability are huge in order for you to be able to see that there was an issue and to go about making a change.
This goes for brothers and sisters. It's not just one sided.
No.
It's just our side. I mean, I do hear that a lot. And I get that I have that conversation so much that it's almost like, are we just not listening to each other? Because a lot of times we're like, no, you did this, and like we're all broken people. It's my job to really do my, to
vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Yeah. Don't want to be vulnerable.
Nope.
Been hurt too many times. You're like, even with business or jobs, like so many people are like shying away from, I say from their actual goal in life, like what God gave them to do. They're shying away from it because maybe they went through some stuff when they were younger.
Right.
They've had some failures. They started and stopped. I've started doing my production stuff off and on, and then I catch a rhythm, then I kind of peel back, and then I have to remember, like, well, God already gave me this purpose. I got to keep on pushing it. I'm not going to get to where I want to be just because I have a dream about it. I literally have to put some work to it. But that means I have to get over myself, have accountability, listen to people, shed off the negative energy, because that's another thing. It's like, I think for me, accountability means also protecting my space mentally and physically. Like, not everybody's for me, not everybody around me I should have around me just because.
Right.
And I got to have a mind of discernment, understand who's around me, things of that nature. So, I said all that to say, like, how do we maintain that balance between each other, and also being able to receive good energy, but at the same time understanding that sometimes our energy is a bad energy, and we need to protect other people from ourselves until we get healthy. So that the accountability piece of that.
Well, I think it was like Business Insider, somebody they're saying, like, in order to be a good entrepreneur, like that's like step number one is being able to be introspective and to really look at yourself and your behaviors and how you operate, because you have to be trusted, you have to be consistent, you have to show up on time in order for people to respect you as well and want to work with you consistently. Maybe they have some big bucks back there somewhere, but like they'd be like, what have you done lately? What have you done lately? Let me see. So just holding yourself accountable, and that's a big one too, because sometimes you don't have that accountability partnership. Maybe it's going to be just you. Sometimes we came into this world alone, unless you was a twin or a triplet. Sometimes it's going to be you and your higher power. So it's definitely it's hard work.
Yeah, it is, and I'm glad there's actually the stigma of therapy is going away. I think more of us having conversations, especially the men that I'm around. There's a couple guys that I talk to, and we actually go through not just therapy, but how's your health? Because guys, we don't talk about health. We're like,
how's your prostate?
Yeah,
did you get your prostate checked?
I ain't doing all that.
You're asking them?
Yeah, no.
Your barber not asking?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But now it's come to the point where we do. Like, even my doctor, she mentioned it, like, because she's like, well, in the black community, or in general, I think they say the prostate is supposed to be around close to 50. But she's saying, no, at 40, you should be starting that, especially in the black community, which is why I wanted a black doctor, because they're going to advocate for different things and understand, like, nah, that might be cool for everybody else, but y'all need to be starting this a lot younger. So, but yeah, we're finally having those conversations around how we show up for each other, the health aspect of it. It's
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's hard though. I didn't grow up with a father, so it was very difficult for me to accept, like, hugging a dude, like, nah, I'm good. I'll give you dap or something like that. But having those vulnerable conversations is changing. I especially think through COVID, because people's family situations, not everybody's going to a therapist, so maybe now the group of guys that you hang out with become like your therapy type of situation. Group. Yeah. So yeah, I think all that's really, really important. So.
You made me think about something, but I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah. Oh, I know the group that I was a part of, Landmark.
Okay.
And I'm not advocating for Landmark at all, but I went through it, and at first I was like, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago I was going to do it, and I was like, I'm good. I did a little research, so that sounds like a cult. A couple friends went through it though, and so I saw how they changed, and so because of them, I said, well, maybe I'll take a look at it, and I finally went through it. But it was all about accountability. Okay. And I was like, oh, okay, I can understand this now. Maybe some people really don't want to deal with it because you really got to dig into some stuff that you just maybe buried or didn't even know was there. And now you're going to have to really dig deep and then
Guilt
do the
and
homework.
Shame.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's programs out there, but definitely people like you. How do people get a hold of you? Like, do they only get referred to you or through your... That's it?
I mean, you could reach out to me, Alvena Willis, and then I'll tell you, you can go to a Burien Center for Health and Well-Being. You can always Google Burien Center for Health and Well-Being and give them a call, shoot them an email or message, and they can connect you, get you on my schedule. I accept several different insurances and EAPs as well, and private pay.
Okay. So what else is going on? I mean, we talked about a lot. You got this big move going down. You just came back from Florida too, so
yep.
How was that? Like, what are your thought process? You're about to move down there where it's sunny, you got the beaches, and is that something that I know you look forward to? But I'm kind of jealous because we don't have that up here like that.
Well, the biggest reason I'm moving down there is because my mother is down there, and she wanted me to move down there, and I was like, well, for what? For what though? But then I was like, okay, let me keep an open mind, check it out, whatever. So I went down there for a whole month. Mm-hmm. I was able to work remotely, so that was nice as well. And my brother's there, so we was kicking it every weekend safely, COVID distance, all that. Most stuff is closed, but
yeah.
The places that weren't closed were empty, so it was just us.
Okay.
And then, yes, I love the beach. It's one of the places that is, I would say, a happy place for me. It's like a therapeutic type of space for me as well. I feel very connected to my higher power out in the sand by the water, just seeing the sky connect. Hopefully there's no buildings. Like I prefer just to see the wonders that none of us can create. I don't know how to create an ocean, so that's really deep.
The ocean is deep.
It's real deep. There's all kind of creatures in there.
Yeah.
But, that just helps me to remember, like how small my problems really are.
True.
Compared to the beauty of the, there's still a lot of beautiful things for us to really marvel after and to be happy about.
I love, I've been out there, I think 3-4 years ago. I went to Clearwater Beach, and I actually saved some sand there. I started collecting sand when people go different places. I asked them to bring it back to me, and I exchanged
so
shirts.
Bright. I had to keep sunglasses on the whole time.
Yeah, it's like, and it felt like talcum powder or baby powder or something like that. But I'm a water baby too. Like, I need to be around water. I know that about myself. I can't be in a landlocked situation. It just mentally, it just drives me crazy.
Right.
And
I love Washington too. I mean, mostly because I've been here for 30 years, and I know some people don't say they love it. I love it. I mean, but it will be great to be in more of a tropical type of climate. Like, I believe, people who are this color come from Africa, and that's a hot place. So I feel like I'll get more of that vitamin D into my system that I need. And I'll be hot like most of the time. So I think I'll also get a lot more exercise, outdoor activity, which I really do love to do.
Yeah.
Ropes courses and just be around my family as well. And it's the East Coast, so I can get to a lot of different places quick. People will come visit me. Especially when this COVID dies down, it'll be a lot more to do as well. So it's a whole new chapter of life, something different I haven't otherwise experienced. And life is too short. Like, I think I haven't lived anywhere else, but I've traveled quite a bit as well. That's another thing. I love to travel. I've been to many, many different places. Yeah,
your stories are ridiculous. Like, I know some of her stories. I'm like, what? You've been where? All right.
Yeah. Well,
it's fun stuff.
We're going to do a documentary one day about all of my ridiculous life stories. In Australia, I've been to Uganda, I've been to, everybody been to Canada, I think, Mexico several times, built houses down there. Florida, I went to Miami, that was dope.
You actually touched on something too. I mean, I'm just thinking of things that we're sitting here, like, I actually know of so many people in Seattle area that have never lived other places or don't travel enough. And I think there's something to be said about that. Like, we were talking about how we treat each other. Like, you don't get a chance to understand how other people, you think what you do is great until you go somewhere else and realize, oh, maybe I need to elevate my game, or I need to have a different perspective. So I think I haven't even traveled that much either. I'm actually in that same boat, but I've lived in New York, and I've been enough places to kind of compare and contrast who I am in those places.
Yes.
And then kind of change my mentality a little bit based on who I've been around. But I do know a lot of people are kind of stuck in this. I mean, Seattle's very cliquey. People like to travel, but for the most part, we stay in our little bubble out in the Northwest area, and we forget that there's a whole nother world, and we can actually we can take a lot of good stuff from other people and adapt.
Oh, yeah.
Stop being the same all the time in the Northwest area.
Yeah, I've learned so many different things about myself from traveling and just experiencing other people's cultures. Like, my eyes are wide open after going to Japan, especially Africa, like going to Uganda.
Are you doing this by yourself, like as a black single female type? You're just out and traveling, or
Australia and Fiji I did by myself.
Okay.
I went to Uganda with one of my best friends and her family. So I went as a sister, a daughter, cousin, whatever. So that was really nice to experience it, like not just go on safaris, but also go do the cultural events and be out there in the community with the with everybody. And I even knew her for many, many years, but we were doing things the American way. But then I saw like her culture for real, like 10 years later. I was like, I'm a baby in this situation. This is all brand new.
Right.
And so I'm just going to do what they do, and find the way to be respectful of her culture.
This is Uganda? Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I'm going to miss them. They're out here in Washington as well, Tacoma area. 253-206-360-425. I got to shout out all of the area codes.
509 in Spokane. That's for us.
I don't know about that
206 also, and 425, but yeah, I was born in Spokane.
I've been to Spokane and Yakima, those areas.
Yeah.
I'm not moving out there, though.
No, that's not. I haven't been back there in 20-some years for a reason. So y'all, we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about mental health in general. But we talked about being focused, getting over your bad habits. We talked about just
get out your own way.
Yeah, get out your way. We covered a lot of topics, but I think at the end of the day, like you said, we gotta stay more focused, stay more grounded. I got that out of the whole conversation, is really being grounded and being intentional about our lives, especially since we're life is short. So if you need to travel, once we get done with this, you need to make amends with family members or friends. Or
say
whoever.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I forgive you.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
So this is Motivate Life. We finally got a chance to sit down and have a quick chat. I think it's been about an hour, so it's not too quick, but we covered a lot of ground.
We can talk for like 3 hours.
I know, we've done that easily. We stay all night. So this is Alvena Willis. She is a dope female that is doing a lot of things in this world, and you should follow her. Do you have a thing for people to follow? Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram. My product, Body by Alvena, that's ALV as in Victor, ENA, right here across the screen. No, I don't know where it's going to be.
I'll put it down there. Yeah.
Okay, it's right across the screen. Or you can find me, just Alvena Willis on Instagram, or LinkedIn as well. Yeah, I'm on the internet. You can Google me.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's good. I think it was
breaking their necks, them they upset. How them boys doing more when they got less? How they on this and how they on that? How they got this and how they got that? Too busy watching us, they need to stop that. Talking my shit, we gon' pop that. See it, I like it, yeah, I'm gon' cop that. When we on top, how you gon' top that? Nah, you ain't got nothing on us. I'm steady calling your bluff. Pass me the split, need me a puff. You don't want smoke, tell them that's